Hey there, bibliophiles and those raising bibliophiles. Without ratings and warning labels, knowing which books are appropriate for your children to read is like navigating wild terrain without a map and a compass. I don't know about you, but I have been burned more than once handing my child a book that I thought was clean and appropriate for them to read. I'm a fellow mom, educator, reading specialist, and literary enthusiast trying to find great books for my children and yours to read. If you're looking for real reviews from a mom with a biblical worldview, then welcome and enjoy this week's book review. This week's book review is The Queen of Thieves, part of the Moon Wind Mysteries by a Swedish author, Johan Rundberg. Hopefully I'm not butchering that too badly. This is an engaging story about a group of young orphans who are inherently looking for a loving home. This was originally written in Swedish. The story is the second in the Moon Wind Mysteries. And unfortunately, it wasn't until I finished this story that I realized that I read the second one first. So if you're following along with any of these reviews, I'm actually going to do the second book before I do the first book because I haven't read the first book yet. But despite a somewhat shortened sort of falling action and conclusion, I did enjoy this story, and I'm definitely going to go back and read the other ones. But like I've done before, I'm just going to read a little bit of the opening just to kind of give you a taste of the story itself. This is Stockholm, Sweden in 1880. Mika carefully lets go of the chimney stacks and balances along the roof ridge with her arms outstretched like a tightrope walker. The morning rain has made the roof slippery underfoot, but the clouds have cleared and the air is clean and fresh. To the north, she can see all the way to the Stockholm Observatory and the building sites in the Siberian district. And in the other direction, a curved line of church spires stretched all the way down to Katarina Burger in the south of the city. She focuses squarely on the horizon and takes a few more steps. If she slips now, there's nothing to catch her. She would slide down the sheet metal and plummet to the street below. If she were lucky enough to land on her feet, she might just about survive. But it would probably mean instant death. The sense of freedom makes her blood rush. This is how the crew of the SS Vega must feel every day, shouts Mika, hanging from the mast and scouting for icebergs. I think it'd suit me. Sometimes Amelia reads the newspaper aloud after dinner. Yesterday it was about an explorer called Nordenskjöld who discovered a route to Asia via the Arctic Ocean. The expedition has taken 2 years so far, and his ship, the SS Vega, is due to arrive in Stromakhagen. I know I'm butchering that. In Stockholm soon. You wouldn't last 2 minutes on the Arctic Ocean, Rufus calls back. Don't go too near the edge. If there's a gust of wind, you're done for. Mika pretends not to hear him. Rufus has become a bit too big for his boots lately. Maybe because he's an apprentice chimney sweep now. To master chimney sweep, Phrasen on, I can't pronounce this street. It pays next to nothing, but he gets to learn a trade. Nobody thought that Rufus would get an apprenticeship, what with his crooked back. But after the long winter, chimney sweeps have made more work than ever. All the chimneys in the city are thick with soot that has to be dislodged. This requires skinny boys who can wiggle into the narrow smoke channels. Now Rufus has been given the key to the roof and a brush to try to clean the orphanage chimney himself. You promised you'd help, he shouts impatiently. Yeah, I'm coming, Mika replies. And so that's just sort of a little opening of the story. It is set in the 1800s. The story follows Mika. She's a 12-year-old assistant to Amelia, the leader of the orphanage in which they all live. Mika has questions about her own past, some of which she uncovers on her own, and some that Amelia is willing to divulge. Unfortunately, some of the orphans close to Mika actually begin to disappear. So in searching for the missing orphans, Mika discovers that they've been taken by a lady known as Henrietta. Thinking that the orphans have been turned into thieves, Mika seeks help from a local policeman that she's worked with before. Hence, I should have been a clue that there's a book one and I wasn't reading the first book in the series. Despite his assistance, though, Mika herself is arrested. She ends up faking her death. She learns how to pick locks and must come face to face with Henrietta and who she really is. Fortunately, Mika is able to survive and to solve the mystery before it is too late. Definitely check out my written review at holdingsteadfastreaders.com. You're going to get a few more details that are not presented in this audio review. You're going to find just a few more quotes, anything that might be questionable in the story. But overall, the story is really good. You're not going to find any profanity, anything that's unsavory. There is a lot of build up to the climax in the story, and then the action that resolved it. It's well told. It's very engaging. Um, there are enough details that readers are, for me, jumping in the story, really there's enough details given that if somebody had done the same thing, you can keep going on with the story and it doesn't impact the story in that particular way. There are great messages in the story about watching for deception and what it looks like to really care for others. So that is definitely a positive message in the story. We are dealing with some orphans, and you have your characters who are a little bit nefarious. So check out my written review for a little more details about that. Overall, I really enjoyed the book The Queen of Thieves, and I look forward to reading the other books in the series, and as soon as I do so, I will make those reviews available to you. Hopefully that's helpful to you as parents as you're trying to decide what's appropriate and not appropriate for your children to read, and I hope that you'll join me next week for another book review.